welcome to another episode of Foggy with a Chance of Seagulls. My name is Clark Weininger. I am joined by my pal, co-host, muse, Evan Lindsay. Evan, how we doing?
You know, we're doing good. My back is pinched AF, which has been a real bichacho today. But I'm excited to talk about some Giants baseball with you. Some Giants baseball that you actually went and saw in person. Tell me all about it.
I did indeed. I went to 3 straight games. Most people in my life called me a lunatic. But the problem is when you're talking about the Giants and it becomes such an identity, part of your identity that you're a big Giants fan, people invite you to games. So poor me.
Yeah.
Just going to games. No, so I went Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I missed the series finale against the D-backs.
For the
Saw
best.
some great baseball. Saw some not great baseball for anyone listening who went to Friday's game. Yeah, that wasn't fun. But bookended it was Logan Webb dominating the D-backs lineup, only giving up 2 hits, going 7 strong. Giants scoring some late runs in the 8th, winning 5-0. And then Saturday day game, Jung-Hoo Lee's first homer. We'll get into it. Patrick Bailey bobblehead day. He went berserk. So, yeah, we got some stuff to talk about on those games, but those were the 3 that I went to. It was a great time. The ballpark ops has definitely improved. Like the scoreboards or like the thin scoreboard behind home plate, like right in front of club level, has a lot more information. Like you can see the like inning by inning run tracker on there. They've been doing it for a while, but they're starting to use more like batted ball analytics after like big hits. So you can see exit velocity, launch angle. Yastrzemski had 2 really good catches in the game I went to, and they had like the win or the catch probability for both of those, which was kind of cool. And then I was really disappointed, but Thursday night, it looked like Doval was coming in for a save situation. Evan, I'm not sure if you've heard or people listening have heard, but Giants have some like spotlight shit planned for Doval when he comes out for save situations. There's some fun stuff that they're cooking up, I think, specifically for him entering. And it was 1-0 in the bottom of the 8th. Tyler Rogers just had a clean inning for the 8th. And I'm like, I'm going to see the spotlight. This is so sick. My first game of the year, I'm going to see the spotlight. And then that of all time, the Giants score 4 runs in an inning. They can't do it otherwise. And they do it just so I don't get to see Camilo. So that was a bummer. But yeah, Giants baseball, kind of fun.
How is it without good old Rennell in the voice box?
I'm sad. This is a great question. I'm sad to say I didn't notice it that much. The thing I noticed the most was there was a different person each game that I went to. And so it was like a unique voice. It kind of felt like, in a weird way, it went from like an iconic voice to just anyone can do it type feeling. And it's not that kind of job. Like you have to be a professional. You have to have done this in many other places, different sports, etc. But it just kind of felt like they just pulled any person from the stadium and was doing it. Like each day, yeah, again, different voice, but no one was like fucking it up. No one sounded out of place. It was, yeah, amazing how quickly I kind of just like didn't think much of it. But as soon as I walk in, it was the first thing I thought of. And then after that, I didn't really think of it again.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, you had games to focus on. I think let's just go through the week as a whole. We just came back from Florida, where, as you pointed out astutely, no beat writers wanted to go for some reason. Actually, yeah. I have some guesses as to the reasons, but the Giants took a series against the Marlins. Not the most beautiful series to watch, but 2 wins in the win column, which was important for the Giants to see that. It was a grinder series for sure. We had a Kyle Harrison win, quality start, 6 innings, 3 runs. We had a bit of a stinker, Ryan Walker with the loss in that one after a pretty decent Jordan Hicks game, and then finished it out behind Keaton Wynn. I was about to say friend of the pod, but he's not. But
that should be a bit though. We should focus our audience
friend of the pod
on the small town in Iowa that he's from. Attract all listeners from that 500 person in town. But
I think that sets us a bit of a ceiling for what we're able to do on this podcast. So,
yeah.
it's only slanders of Keaton Wynn from here on in. But no, he pitched great.
Wait, sorry. Imagine the ad reads. Imagine the ad reads if we were only targeting Iowa, rural Iowa. Brought to you by John Deere.
This one is brought to you by Quick Mart. Come on down for 50% off
That's way better.
a Bluebell turkey or whatever the fuck.
Get them while they last.
But anyway, back to the week. It's it's a winning week at the end of the week. Just barely. We're 4-3 this week, but isn't that pretty much what we asked for last week?
Yep.
Maybe exactly.
I think I set the expectations real low, and they delivered. They did it. They won the week. They tried their hardest not to, and I don't think they, from a run differential standpoint, won the week because of that 17-1 drubbing. But yeah, they won the week.
And I think now when you look at the standings, it's a little less embarrassing. We're technically 2.5 games out of first, behind the Dodgers, who dropped some games to the Nats. So watch out for the Nats and Giants rematch this year.
We're putting some distance between us and the Rockies, and that is a very important thing to do. You don't want to look up on like May 5th and be like, okay, if we can just get over the Rockies. No, it's already too late for that. Evan, did you see the controversy in the Rockies game today?
That they added Ty Block to the roster?
No, that was a controversy 8 years ago. They can't get him off the roster now. No, not an important tangent, but
No,
basically there was a walk-off homer that got called an out because of fan interference. And like, there's nothing more quintessential Rockies than to lose a walk-off homer on a fan interference. Fans are desperate for that moment, and the guy gets too excited, interferes with the play. They ended up holding on to the win, snapping a 6-game losing streak. So go Rockies. However, this is not Foggy with a chance of dingers. So
dinger. No,
know,
but also quickly about the Rockies, just it's a bad time over there. Bam Bam Hensley Mullins was just caught in the cockpit like during a live flight. I don't really know why it's bad, but I've been told that it's bad.
Yep. Same. It's bad for reasons.
I don't know. Like if it was a child, that would be like fine, right? And like Bam Bam, kind of like a nickname for a child. The Rockies are basically
children.
Like, children. Yeah. All right, back to the Giants. We're getting a little bit more data on what this team looks like. Like having seen them in person, having seen them scrap through Miami and Arizona. Like, where are you at with this team right now?
I like this team. I feel the same way that I did before the year, and now with visual evidence to back up a lot of what we expected. Good starting pitching, really good defense. That was one of my big takeaways seeing him Thursday night with Webby on the mound. At one point, Logan had retired 19 batters in a row, and like 15 of them were just ground ball outs. And like Ahmed and Chapman just make shit look so easy. Actually, Tyro's the exact same way. Any ball hit to second base, I'm like, Tyro's got it. Lamont and Wilmer, I've been seeing they're not graded out incredibly well at first base, but they're average first baseman, and their bats both make up for it. And that's the best place to not have a defensive whiz out of the 4 infield spots. And Patrick Bailey, I mean, we're gonna talk about Patty Barrels, but he is really starting to look good. And Jung-Hoo Lee looks amazing in center field. He's made a couple really nice catches. Yaz has looked great in right field. So yeah, I like the team. I think different guys are going to heat up at different times. We're not going to have the most potent offense, but yeah, I think it's going to be a good team. What do you think?
I think if we had been swept by the Marlins, we would have been in a bad place. We were texting earlier in this week, and it was like we're a few more losses from being really inconsolable. So it was really nice.
I texted you in game 1 of that Marlins series in like the 5th inning, and I was like, "We're 2 weeks from me being like let's bring up all the prospects and be sellers at the deadline. Like, I'm 2 weeks away. And then they went out and won 4 of their next 7 games. And I feel much better. So, yes, important context, though, that shit can change on a dime.
Yeah, it's true. And I think the win-loss results are better this week. Still watching this team, even when we win sometimes, it's not convincing. It's it can be very maddening at times. I think it's finding some consistency is really what I'd love to see, because it is kind of this feast or famine thing, you know. It's like you saw 2 games sandwiched by a stinker. Also, shout out to
Oh
my
my God.
mom.
Yeah.
She went to that
She
game
was
as
there.
well. Yeah. She brought her boyfriend Jose to the park for the first time, and that's the game that they saw. So that's really hilarious. Um,
He's never
I'm
allowed back.
I mean, he probably doesn't want to go back. I mean, it's probably not the most fun time ever.
Mutually beneficial.
But it's easy to focus on all the new free agents because there are so many, and really
Mm-hmm.
hyper focusing on Chapman and Ahmed and Soler and things like that. And there's things that we can talk about there for sure. But I like seeing some guys start to heat up that maybe were forgotten in this lens of Patrick Bailey and Lamont Wade, and Jung Hoo just keeps on coming. And so, yeah.
I think that's a perfect way to transition into a new segment here on Foggy with a Chance of Seagulls that we're introducing today called Let's Talk About. And it is going to be a segment where Evan and I just pick a player that we want to kind of dive deeply in, whether it's their season as a whole, whether it's just something that happened this week in Giants baseball that they contributed to, both positively or negatively. But yeah, I'd be more than happy to, but I'll let you start if you're into that.
I'm into that. The thing I would like
Into that.
let's to talk about is sex, baby. You know that song? No, that won't be the first thing I talk about. Instead, I'll choose the next best thing, which is Patrick Bailey. I feel
Woo!
like it's definitely recency bias, but seeing him go 4 for 4, just stinging the ball all over the field, like, he doesn't have to do that. He can do, I would say
Yeah.
I'd be really happy with 50% of that on a regular basis. Even 25% of that on a regular basis would make me happy. I mean, in this franchise, any catcher is going to be compared to BP 28. But, and as soon as the catcher starts hitting well, we start to go to that place. And I'm not going to go to that place yet, but it's been really fun seeing him come back. I think he's hitting like three something now, 360, three
Yeah.
seventy out of nowhere. He was kind of looking a little lost at the beginning of the season, defensively and offensively.
Mm-hmm.
Enough so to where I was beginning to have some concerns, but he's
I thought
reminding
I
us.
jinxed him by picking him as the Willie Mack winner this year. I was starting to look inward and blaming myself, but
I mean, yeah,
yeah,
there was
he's
a
turned
whole
it around.
scenario where Bart takes off and we're kicking ourselves for signing Tommy whatever, and what's his name?
Tom Murphy.
Tom Murphy.
Hey,
I
Tommy,
was thinking of
whatever.
the ghost of Listella come back to haunt me. But anyway, really good to see him succeeding, especially because Tom Murphy hasn't been really heating it up yet. But you can see the results too in the in how well our pitching staff has been doing. I mean, you know, we've had some games where bullpens haven't had the best time. Even, you know, our staff has had shakiness here and there, but you know, we like the worst we're getting is like 4 or 5 innings from Kyle Harrison, like 3 runs or something. It's like that's workable. And you know that as long as framing is still a thing in baseball,
As
Bailey's
long
going
as
to
it's
be
still
stealing
legal.
you a lot of exactly legalize it. They he'll always be framing stuff up super nice. So anyway, that's the guy that I wanted to talk about. Who do you want to talk about, Clark? Let's talk about
Jung-Hoo Lee. Shocking. I know. Shocking that the two of us would want to talk about this under the radar guy on the Giants. No. He hit his first homer at Oracle Park.
Oh yeah.
A really pivotal moment. He leads off after Harrison gave up a run It was kind of an unfortunate first inning on Saturday. Harrison got Marte and Carroll, but then a couple 2-out hits, and he gives up a run. They're on the board. We had just lost 17-1 the day before. And Jung Hoo Lee comes up and just hits a solo shot to start it off, tie game, and it changed the whole mood of that game. I was already starting to feel so negative, sitting there being like, "Oh man, Kyle, come on!" Just bemoaning the I don't know, the fickleness of our offense and what I kind of hoped it wouldn't be, but expected it to be. And he popped a homer, and then Bailey did the rest. Your guy did the rest that day, hitting a splash hit, the first ever splash hit that didn't get wet.
If anybody says it's not a splash hit, I don't know what to
They're
tell
wrong. I don't know. You're wrong. But Buster's was a splash hit in the 2021 playoffs, and that didn't count. So I'm still more outraged about that one. Not only, though, did he hit a homer there, he was on an 11-game hit streak that ended on Sunday. He's starting to look really good in center field, making great reads, just looking really easy and relaxed out there. So shout out to Jung Hoo Lee, who, man, he's everything we hoped he would be, I feel like. He's already batting like 280, starting to show a little pop, just gets his bat on freaking everything, and it's so fun to watch. And the crowd already loves him.
The crowd loves him. I mean, the Jung Hoo Lee fan club, really fun to see, just people going absolutely nuts for him. And I'm proud to say that I have joined the team.
He has it. It has arrived.
It has arrived.
For those listening and confused why I am freaking out all of a sudden, Evan is showing off his Jung Hoo Lee jersey with Korean lettering, which is so sick.
Some things I want to show off. This is majestic. No fanatics in this house, okay? You're going to see no Nike swoosh because I'm not a corporate shill, okay? And you're going to see this lettering done by this guy, Roger Hovey in San Diego. And if you want a jersey
Roger.
like this, I will definitely send you his contact information. But he's great at what he does. Thank you so much. But Jung Hoo Lee, man, it's just like, it feels good to know that we really nailed a free agent signing. It's not, you get a sense that it is not just like whatever, like a rookie coming up and then getting to the league before they figure him out. I think that we've actually already seen him start to make adjustments to how people were approaching him. I think we saw him struggle a little bit after the beginning. He started hot, cooled off a little bit, but he's coming back now. And I think once he can figure it out a little bit more, works on that launch angle, knows how to time up steals a little bit better. There's even he's everything that we hoped, but there's still more for him. And that's what's exciting about watching him for me.
100%. If I can just talk real quickly too about his number 2, his partner in crime up at the top of the lineup. Lamont Wade is having a fantastic start of the year.
Yeah.
And Kerry Crowley mentioned this when he was on the pod with us. You and I've talked about this in the offseason, but just kind of generally, people forget how good Lamont Wade Jr. has been for 3 years when he's been healthy. Now, we used to have these same conversations about Brandon Belt, and I was chatting with my buddy Lawrence last week, and we were making this exact same comparison. He's like, I just want to see Wade do it for an extended period of time. And I'm like right there. And I'm with him because he's a big like durability is a skill. And like, cool, you have a 900 OPS, but you've done it in 125 at bats. Do it for 600 at bats over the course of the year, and you're a dude. And I mean, he and Jung Hoo Lee have just been setting the table, and I love watching the two of them, and I really enjoy that as a 1-2 at the top of the lineup.
Yeah, I doubted it. Wade up so high going into the season. I was a hater of that, but if you hadn't made that comparison, I was going to make it as well. I mean, he is becoming Brandon Belt almost to a T. Yeah. I feel like maybe
he can call his own balls and strikes.
Exactly. I mean, he's going to give you power, not a ton of power, but he's going to get on base. He's going to, he has a good sense of the strike zone. I don't think he's as strong defensively as Belt was, who was underrated for his defense. And by the way, somebody should sign him as soon as possible. I'll say one negative about Lamont Wade Jr. is I really don't like his goatee. That's my own personal preference. I think it's very ugly, but I've loved seeing him and Lee at the top of the lineup, and just like knowing that we can have somebody on base for somebody to do something with has been great. I want to just give quickly to my honorary mention to Eric Miller. I think that he's a guy not a lot of people were thinking about going into the season, but he's really opened some eyes with some real velocity from the left side, upper 90s, and the stuff is nasty. And especially as we've had some kinks in our bullpen stuff so far, it's been really nice to have him as, he gave up a couple runs the other day, but I think we can give him that one. Otherwise, he's been really solid. So a great addition to the bullpen.
Yeah, it was very telling on Saturday. Yeah, the Kyle Harrison start. They pulled Kyle after 4 innings, and it went Ryan Walker, Eric Miller, Tyler Rogers, Taylor Rogers, Doval, I think was the order. Might have been back-to-back lefties, actually. I think Taylor was before Tyler. That part's not important. What is very telling, and we said this about Landon Roop in our last episode, seeing Melvin trust him in a game where we have between a 3-0 run lead, but we're up in a game, says everything to me about the way the staff views him, how he's throwing. So that's a great shout out. I mean, if we can have another lefty, and I mean, his stuff is nasty, throwing 100 with a wipeout slider and a changeup that's filthy. I mean, when he's on, he looks pretty much unhittable. And yeah, Ryan Walker's been great. It feels like the bullpen's starting to round into form, which was obviously a concern after the first couple weeks, but
for sure. All right. Well, we're going to be right back after this quick break.
Welcome back. Thank you for being with us, although no one knows how long that break was, so I shouldn't be thanking them. Anyway, we are going to round out the end of this episode with a little thing called question and answer time. Evan and I are going to ask each other questions kind of back and forth. We're going to give kind of quick answers to this. It's just a way to talk about kind of the other goings on the field, off the field, other stuff that we haven't yet covered in Giants baseball. But yeah, with that in mind, the first question in question and answer time is related to this Diamondbacks and Giants series. I was struck by like how similarly the teams are kind of constructed. But after, a 2-2 series split, I wanted to go through some positions and kind of see where we feel if the Giants are better, worse. So first one to you, my friend, the shortstop position. Nick Ahmed versus, in this series, we saw Blaze Alexander, who's actually tearing it up, but feels like a fake person, and Jace Peterson, and they've also got Geraldo Perdomo. And just like us with Luciano, they've got Jordan Lawler in the minors as their shortstop to the future. Whose shortstop position do you take, Giants or D-backs?
Well, these are all D-backs, so I don't know how to pick, as was mentioned many times during the series. But it's hard to say at this moment in time that I wouldn't take Blaze Alexander, like the current version of Blaze Alexander. But I don't really know what happened today in the game, the Sunday game. But I know Chapman and Ahmed both booted some balls, it looked like. But that aside, I mean, he's obviously been super solid defensively. And honestly, if he keeps his current production level and keeps playing at this level defensively, like, I would take him, I think. Again, it's tempting with Blaze Alexander, but I think that's the way that I'd go.
It really felt like a classic Farhan thing to pick Nick Ahmed off the scrap heap and have him play better than any Diamondback shortstop did this series. Yeah. And then Blaze Alexander had to come in and fucking hit the ball everywhere, and he was annoying. So I kind of agree with your take, although very short sample, small sample. Sample. I have enjoyed the Nick Ahmed experience so far, so I agree.
Yeah. And I like that he's motivated to beat the D-backs team. He mentioned that as a motivation going into the season, and we always love to see that. Speaking of other Giants D-backs crossovers, at the DH spot, Do you choose Jorge Soler or Jock Pusoy Peterson?
He got so many boos this series. I was very surprised by how Giants fans turned on him so quickly, but he got a bunch of boos before he was a Giant, so it feels almost like an appropriate
Yeah.
homage to him.
Hmm.
Jorge Soler easily. Obviously, there's no like platoon issue with Soler, but the Giants really upgraded, even though Soler hasn't fully taken off. He's been impressive so far for me. I don't know about you.
Is it coming? Do you feel like
I
the
think it's
Soler
coming.
that we were promised?
He hasn't
Uh,
been great, and he has an 800 OPS with 4 home runs already. And like, I have
yeah.
not felt like he's been that good. And
Yeah.
like,
It's a
yeah,
weird
go
one
ahead.
because every time I see him hitting the ball, it's a weak grounder in the infield. And I'm like, at least like a fly out or like something. He he has been, I feel like quietly getting it together a little bit. I think playing in Florida against his former team was a little bit of a motivator, but if he needs a real motivator, we need to see these lights properly go off in
I
this.
did
It
for his home run.
nice, and there needs to be a lot more of those.
There
They
do.
can't all be happening on Nick Ahmed doubles. As much as I chose him in the last question.
No, Soler, I will say we lost 17-1, but Soler hit a majestic home run in that. And I was sitting in view box up on the like left field side, kind of even with where like Conforto plays in left. And that thing was a majesta. Let me try that again. That thing was a
New word alert, Majesta. That was a Majesta.
I meant to say a majestic parabola. Which it
Oh,
was. I'm bringing out parabola.
majestic
But
parabola
yeah,
sounds like a line that a white rapper would say in a song.
shout out Frack. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, I would add one more thing, which is this is kind of like a DH question, and we are thinking like D backs or Giants, but you know, I just want to quickly talk about Wilmer Flores because I think he's beginning to heat up a little bit, and this
let's talk
always
about him, Evan.
happens. We always a little crossover from the last segment. There's always this idea of he's going to find his at bat somehow, but we're not going to give him like a direct path to the lineup. And I'm not saying that I don't like Soler, but at times this season I've wondered how much like losing the flexibility of like being able to cycle different players through the DH spot as much. I wonder how much utility, like I feel like Soler's been a net like neutral for me so far. And I think that there's more in there. And once he starts really hitting dingers, I think it'll feel different. But just for now, it's
Yeah.
not felt like a huge improvement or something necessarily over like a good Wilmer Flores.
Well, speaking of Wilmer, actually, I was cracking up on Thursday, the game that Webb started, because Wilmer didn't start that game, and we have the bases loaded, and Wilmer pinch hits for Conforto, which I think is hilarious because people made fun of Kapler for pinch hitting all willy
Yeah.
nilly or whatever. But like Melvin pinch hit for our cleanup guy when a lefty came in, and it absolutely worked because this was not a bad way of managing by Kapler. Everyone does it. He got so unfairly criticized for shit like that. Pissed me off. Anyway, soapbox, I am off of it. But Wilmer comes in. It was so funny because he comes in, pinch hits, he watches the first pitch strike, and then second pitch, he ropes a classic Wilmer just soft double into the left field corner. I feel like I've seen it a million times, and just like
Yeah.
hobbles to second base without a throw for an easy double, and then immediately gets pinch run for by Austin Slater. And I was just cracking up that Wilmer's day, he has the biggest hit of the game, comes in, sees two pitches, hits the second one for a double, strolls to second, and then immediately gets lifted. And that was his day. And he had such an impact on our team. And it like that is actually why I love having Soler because he's not expected to be our everyday DH or everyday first baseman or whatever. He can just kind
Yeah.
of come in crucial moments and like have the clutch hit or because then we saw it today. Soler came up with the bases loaded in today's game and grounded out. And it was like some people need to have 4 at bats in a game, and some people can come off the bench cold and rope a double into the corner. And I feel like
Yeah.
not enough's made about that skill that Wilmer and Austin Slater possess.
With Wilmer, I think I saw something recently that like his exit velocities are like pretty low. Like
Yeah.
it's like the hitting equivalent of an ephus pitch. Like I think as in terms of miles per hour. But he finds a way to get it in there. And thinking about it now, Soler provides something different in terms of like he really can be a game changer in that way. I mean, Wilmer can too, but like it's just a completely different player in terms of like the approach and everything that they're taking. But anyway, moving on to the first base position, or do
We
you want
talked
to?
about him already. I talked about him. Lamont Wade Jr., or would you rather have Christian Walker of the Diamondbacks?
It's really funny that you put together this exercise because when I was watching a little bit of the games and then the highlights of the D-back series, I was like, Christian Walker is Lamont Wade. Like they're so like they are such like they're right in the same ballpark of player with each other. I feel like, and I think it's just because Walker lives in the shadow of Paul Goldschmidt, like
Yeah.
famous Giants terrorizer. That I think Walker's perfectly good, and if he were our first baseman, I'd be happy too. But I've got to go Lamont as just a great pickup from outside the org, who's been such an important piece of the Giants when they've been doing well these past few years. And if we're getting less from him right now, we might be missing Brandon Belt a little bit more than we are. But
Yeah.
I think that he's giving us everything that we need from that position right now. Maybe atypical as far as power output. I might take Walker over Wade in that sense, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy with where we're at. What do you think?
Yeah, I think too the like outfield versatility that Wade has shown, and I know you have mentioned already, and I think accurately so. He's not necessarily impressive out there, but being able to play there and like not embarrass yourself is a skill also.
Yeah,
So the versatility there I think is huge. But yeah, I think comparing him or contextualizing the fact that he kind of was under Paul Goldschmidt's shadow is so impressive, or like so important rather. I think
thank
Walker
you for being
came
so
up with
impressed
Mike
by me.
Yastrzemski. I'm always impressed by you, my friend. But I think Walker came up with the Orioles just like Yaz did, and
Oh,
neither
interesting.
one like showed their stuff. Christian Walker was blocked originally by Chris Davis at first,
Well,
and that's why they DFA'd him and the Diamondbacks picked him up. There's a whole Jolly Olive video. His stuff's really good on YouTube about him, I think, but or like part of it, whatever. But yeah, he's been low key like killing it at first base for the D-backs, Christian Walker, for like
yeah,
the last 5 years. And I mean, again, it comes back to like if Lamont can do this for a whole year, he is absolutely in that conversation. He has the potential to be, but yeah, I think I'd take the guy who's done it multiple years, but man, it is close and they're very similar type players.
yeah,
Next question, Evan. The catching position. So Patrick Bailey lost to Gabby Moreno in the Gold Glove race in the offseason. Bailey obviously had the huge game on Saturday. Gabby Moreno hit a 2-run single that basically won the game for them today. Both incredible defensive catchers who also have some frisky offensive ability. This is a pro Patrick Bailey podcast, so I doubt we are going to have a different answer. But yeah, who would you take, Bailey or Moreno?
I think I'd have to like resign from the podcast if I took Moreno, like
Exactly.
truthfully. But no, Moreno's been great for them and was a big part of their World Series run last year. So can't
Mhm.
can't diminish what he does, but Bailey just feels like such a foundational piece for us for so many years to
He
come. I
does.
think I think we can dream on a little bit more from him on the offensive side, even than what we've seen so far. I think his ceiling's a little higher than Moreno in that respect, even though they're both young guys. But Patty Barrows is simply exactly what this team needs. Just a
Yeah.
boring vocal fry ass, just gets his job done the right way. Yeah, no, I've
Listens
got
to
to go
country
him.
music and takes care of his truck. He's just a good old country boy.
Headbands and the yeah, I don't
The
want to hear his
headband thing is
political
so
beliefs.
fascinating. The headband thing is wild because on his bobblehead day, his headband was Washington crossing the Delaware, that famous like revolutionary picture or portrait.
Yeah.
And then he also has like the Constitution, an American flag one. His walk up song is a Toby Keith, "My Country Red, White, and Blue," that so many people around me on Saturday knew and were like, "Oh, I love this song," and I'm like, "Wow, Patrick Bailey, like man of the people."
Man of the people. I'm not going to say that it's not giving Make America Great Again, but you know what? As long as he doesn't talk about it, then I'll pretend it doesn't exist. Um, all right. I feel like another close one that we can examine is Corbin Carroll and Jung Hoo Lee.
I wrote this down with a smile on my face.
Tell me why you were smiling, Clark.
Well, I think going into the season, this was a ridiculous comparison. Jung Hoo Lee
Yeah.
had no major league experience. Corbin Carroll was just rookie of the year. And honestly, like in a very Buster Posey way, came onto a team that had some young talent, some veteran talent. And as a rookie, just like they all coalesced behind him and made a postseason run. Like he was super impressive last year. And I came away from this series with the D backs being very unimpressed by him. And I mean, a hot streak and he'll be off and I'm not necessarily worried that he's just not a good player. But I came away from this series thinking Jung Hoo Lee is a more impactful player so far in 2024. And we already talked about Jung Hoo Lee, but it was start to see Carroll like not really showing that power. I don't find him to be that good of a center fielder. He made some weird plays that led to runs, especially on Saturday. Um, Last year, he played right field for them, where Alec Thomas was their center fielder, and I think he's a really good defensive center fielder, but he's hurt right now.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. And I also posed this because this could be back-to-back rookie of the years. So, but
Yeah.
I'm taking our Korean prince.
I like that. I mean, it's a great choice. I feel like obviously the numbers from Carroll have been down big time this year, and yeah, like you said, it's defensively and it's offensively. Obviously, I'm JHL fan club to the stars, but at the same time, I'd probably wait to the end of the season to answer this question because I think Carroll has like Lee's a great player, but I feel like Carroll like he basically single handedly took the D backs to the World Series like as a you know uh whatever it's called play in team or whatever they call it. And I think that he is a like game changing talent. Just like five tools can do it all. But I'm extraordinarily happy that we have Jung Hoo Lee. If we weren't to have Carroll, I think that definitely when you look at the whole National League West right now, I think right now it's looking like Jung Hoo Lee and Jackson Merrill at the top, and Corbin Carroll probably third, which is a shock to many, I think.
Yeah, truly. But yeah, I think that exercise was fun for me just because it was a nice, easy way to kind of compare two teams that I feel like are very similar. We didn't even go into the Logan Webb Zach Gallen comparison. I feel like they're very similar types of pitchers. Merrill Kelly and Alex Cobb have some similarities. They've got Brandon Fott. We've got Kyle Harrison. It just
The Montgomery Snell
the oh
thing,
my
you
god, I
know,
left that right
two
on
of
the
the
table.
Boris
Yeah.
Four, like, funny to see
Yep.
them go duke it out and for us to get the short end of the stick there. But no, there's so many similarities, and I think we're gonna be at each other's throats the whole year. The Padres right there too. I think we're better than the Padres. Both teams are better
Yeah.
than them, but you know, any of them can make a run. As we've been maintaining all year. But yeah, I think it was a great exercise to do. And so to wrap things up, we've got the Mets and the Pirates at home this week. That aside, though, what do you want to see more of from this Giants team on the field in general? Lineup decisions, roster decisions, on field product,
Yeah,
etc.
that's a good question. I think, like last week, we were referencing that we just wanted to win the week, and mission accomplished by the skin of our teeth. But yeah, I think it's a good question for this upcoming week. I think, again, if we can just win a couple series, win the homestand, we can win more games than we lose at home. That's something I'm looking forward to. I want to see us continue to pitch well. Kyle Harrison's had a couple starts in a row where he's gotten a little roughed up. I wrote a piece on the Foggy blog talking about how I was actually very impressed with his start against the Marlins. He gave up some weak contact and a home run, but yeah, and gave up 3 runs in the second inning, and then shut the door after that. Went 6 strong, got the quality start. And Melvin, very interestingly, on Saturday didn't let him do that, but he gave up 3 runs and then finished 4 innings, and they pulled him. Blake Snell has not gotten on track. I'm not freaking out. The man didn't have a spring training. I think it would have made a lot more sense to have him do the thing Jordan Montgomery did, which is go down to AAA, make some rehab starts, because he's basically done rehab starts against 3 good major league teams,
Yeah.
which is tough. But I have all the confidence that he's going to turn it around. Keaton Wynn's been good. Hicks is just solid. So it feels like every day we can just put in a good kind of effort from the starting pitchers, but I want to see that continue. I want us to build confidence and kind of keep pitching good games. But that's what I'm looking for. Anything? What are you keeping an eye on?
I'm keeping an eye out for the new celebration that they're doing. What exactly it means? Do we know?
Okay, I have a theory. I saw this on
Hit it.
Twitter. I don't know who shared this, but do you remember Pat Burrell's uh, character with Brian Wilson?
The
The
machine.
Machine. I think it is a reference to that character because it's kind of what it looks like is like putting on a mask and then like zipping the mouth shut, which
Yeah.
if you haven't, just look up Pat Burrell Machine, maybe use your incognito browser. But that's my guess at what that is. And obviously Pat Burrell, new hitting coach. Um, yeah.
that was a theory that makes the most sense to me, and it obviously, yeah, since he's in the dugout, I think I don't know. I'd love some official confirmation from the team, but I'd love to see a lot more of that celebration this week. I'd love to see all the new gadgets in Oracle Park being used for various reasons.
Yeah, let's get Camilo a save. Come on.
Exactly. I want to know if he's keeping his song from last year, or I think that he needs to switch it up and do something more like what Edwin Diaz does, like really make a
Oh, I
moment.
know.
He said that he wants to, and I know the Giants want him to too. So I'd love to see that. I think
What was his
the
walk up
Mets.
last year? Because this year it's the song Bandoleros by Don Omar. And I feel like it's familiar enough that it could have been the song last year, but I don't
I
remember. It
I
felt
don't
like it was,
remember truthfully.
yeah. It's not the
Um,
like, it doesn't get me fucking going, but it is a great song. So
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
hate it.
Yeah, but these Mets and Pirates teams actually have been competitive this year, more so than I think people thought that they would be. The Mets have been particularly on a heater lately, 12-9. Pirates, I think, are 11-11 or something. But these aren't just teams that are going to roll over and give us the wins. So for me, my tempered expectations are I think we could go 500 this week. Just keep improving, playing more sound ball while being able to like just stack some W's. I think that that's all that I can ask for. So
The National League is good and like deep
yeah,
as fuck. And even like the Dodgers right now aren't separating themselves either. And there are a whole host of issues that I would love to talk about, but maybe on a
Yeah.
future podcast if it continues. I don't want to jinx it yet, but it's stacked. And like you said, I mean, just like the Nationals were a solid team, the Pirates and Mets are both going to be solid, even if I don't think either is necessarily going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, 100%. I think that takes us to the end of today's episode. As always, if you feel like leaving a voice message, that's possible. 415 703, I forget the number. I'll put it in the description. You're not going to call anyway. But if you haven't and you're active on Giants Twitter, please follow us there at Foggy Seagull, Clark at CW Tennis, and follow the Foggy blog as well. That will be linked. That has the written pieces that Clark does, as well as links to listen to the episodes. Thank you for joining us this week. We're excited for more Giants baseball ahead, and we'll see you next week for a new episode of Foggy with a Chance of Seagulls.